مساء الخير. Good evening. مساء الخير دكتور سارمد، ازي حضرتك؟
مساء النور دكتور زياد، الحمد لله بخير.
اخبارك
ايه؟ الحمد لله والشكر.
الله يخليك يا فندم. انا بس I'm checking can the audience confirm if the voice is clear and صورة دكتور سارمد والسكرين باينة قدام حضراتكم ولا في أي مشكلة؟ Yes, it's clear. Okay, دكتور سارمد احنا we can start in 2 minutes يعني.
Okay.
Okay, we are ready دكتور سارمد. حضرتك جاهز؟ نحب نبتدي دلوقتي.
Okay.
Okay, so on behalf of Dan Supply Sirona, at first I would like to thank Dr. Sarmad for joining us tonight. Dr. Sarmad is now becoming part of our family and is a friend of mine, and it gives me a great pleasure to introduce.
My honor.
Thank you, Dr. Sarmad. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce Dr. Sarmad tonight. We will start. Dr. Sarmad is, for those who don't know, is an aesthetic dentist in Iraq and specialized in aesthetic and artistic dentistry. And this is part one of our series. We will have today the posterior composite, and on the next week we will have the anterior part or the anterior composite. I will leave you with a very interesting presentation. I will just mute myself. Please, for any questions or inquiries, post it on the Q&A section. Dr. Sarmad, you can start, and I will mute myself and close my screen. And if there's any inquiry, I will be taking care of. Thank you, Dr. Sarmad. Please join. Please start.
Thank you, Dr. Ziad. Thank you for the nice introduction for me. Thank you for your effort organizing this event tonight. Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Samad Jan, as Dr. Ziad said. Without any delay, I would like to start our webinar or lecture today. I'm going to show you how to make a good, actually excellent restoration with longevity and beautiful outcome and consistent outcome. These are the three most important points in any restoration. I'm gonna do a brief, sorry, just a minute, because let's try, the pointer is not working. I'm gonna skip to the manual, okay? So I'm graduated from Baghdad University. I'm initially oral medicine specialist, but I have many certificates in aesthetic dentistry. I'm practicing for many years, and many creative cases, many successful cases for years. I have a major interest in aesthetic dentistry, and specifically in composite restorations. I'm also a smile designer, professional dental photographer, and Dentsply Sirona KOL. As you can see, the picture or background picture, it's a picture of mine behind the writings and my profile picture. I also do some drawings in my empty time, if I have empty time. Unfortunately, these days, empty time is so precious. Let's begin with our subject step by step, and introduce our main points here. Now, these composite restorations, the only available per restoration in the market or in the as a the whole product in the whole world, as which is acceptable as a aesthetic restoration. Like this restoration I used to do myself many years ago, many years ago, and I was very happy with the result. But after a few months of doing it, I come and find it in this situation. Many of us find his restoration in this situation. Like, what happened? I did a great restoration. It was a huge effort from me. What happened? Why is this happening to my restorations? Uh, Plus the post-op sensitivity and pain from composite restoration. I heard many dentists says the composite restoration is the worst restoration we use. It is not good restoration. Actually, this saying or this accusations is correct and wrong in the same time. I have a saying, I say it every lecture I do it. In the beginning, composite restoration is the best restoration material if you can use it, and it's the worst restoration you can use. How? If you use it in correct way, scientific way, creative way, it's the best restoration. If you use it in the wrong situation, you are gonna get a worst restorative material. So we have to know how to use a composite restorative material to know how to get a beautiful result. Like these two cars, this new G-Class and this old Mercedes, it's very old Mercedes, I took this picture. That is the exact comparison between what we were doing and what we are going to do, okay? We transfer our job from old rusty to new and modern and beautiful. This is very important. I'm going to show you some cases I did for many years follow-up, simply because I do uh, a correct procedure, scientific procedure. I understand the material, how it's done. I know how to use it, so it will give me her best or its best in any situation. Like this case was 2 years follow-up. Actually, this is the fourth year I'm following this case. It's a teenage girl comes to me every while for another teeth. She has many problems in her teeth. I photographed this case, but unfortunately I forgot to add it to this lecture tonight. I will add it later maybe, or case on post on Facebook. This case too, 2 years check. This is also, I checked now, this is the 3.5 year. It is the same exact situation. This one was fourth year or fifth year, sorry, 5 years check. You see, I didn't even touch it. Just the restoration lost its glossy. It needs just some polishing and will continue for many more years. That is the point of our restorative dentistry. Um, there is another important point. Please take care of it. That composite restorations is not just outside restoration. It's whole from the core to the outside. It's something should extend from the core to the whole outside or the eye looking area. These cases like this case show us how should restoration should seem in the behind the scenes or unseen areas. This is very important. There's many hidden points here. Now, dynamics of restorations. The composite restoration is in touch and direct contact with dentin and enamel. It's a part of our bodies. So we have to understand how the mechanism of its communication or contacting of its this material and this part of our body, dentin and enamel, and how to do it. Okay. Now, in every restoration in dentistry, direct or indirect, it is important for us to consider 3 points: aesthetic, quality, duration. This is the most important point, the 3 points in any restoration we do, direct or indirect. Unfortunately, the composite restoration, when we do it, the material comes with a bad property, which is shrinkage or polymerization shrinkage. It's come with the material. This is one of the disadvantages of the material, but we have many ways to overcome this problem. Any composite restoration is when we apply a light on it, it will shrink toward the center of it or shrink to itself. So there is many rules judging our success in composite restoration, like the cavity configuration and filler contact in the composite, liticure itself, composite itself, and bonding quality. All these are factors influencing our restoration. Sorry, the pointer is not working. I don't know why. So when we do any restoration, the composite will shrink, as we said. Now, in this situation, like if we leave this mountain here, the hidden area, the restoration will not complete in polymerization. So we'll leave an area of incomplete polymerization. This will lead to gap. Gap will lead to tear. Tear will lead to failure and space between composite and tooth structure. Okay. Now there was not so long ago, there was a wrong saying that composite restoration shrinks toward the light. This is wrong. Composite shrinks towards its center, not toward the light. So in many videos or lectures I've seen, like especially the American dentist using many light sources, liticure sources, to thinking that the composites are shrinking toward the light, so it's distributing its shrinkage strong, it shrinks toward the center. This shrinkage toward the center, if it's done suddenly and in a big amount, it will lead to many problems. One of it, the space or the gap between the material and the tooth structure, and this is definitely a failure. And this is one of the reasons of white line. Many of dentists ask me, I have a problem of white line. What is this white line? This is the result of white line because of the shrinkage and separation from the tooth structure and leading to white line accumulation or appearance. Sorry. And the most important and the most dangerous bad result of the shrinkage is a cusp fracture, because if we apply light suddenly and strongly on a composite and shrinks instantly with a big amount of composite, it will pull everything with it and might lead to crack. And this crack will continue as the windshield fracture when the rocks touch the or hits the windshield and start a small crack and continue to walking or cracks to continue until it's fractured. This is what cusp fracture caused by. And there is another mistake we do all the time. In the deep areas, we do not cure the composite well, because the composite, the light source is too away from our composite restoration in the deep situations or deep places. So this lead to incomplete composite polymerization and recurrent caries and the fracture of the restoration, especially in deep glass tools. We're going to learn how to overcome this. Now, all these problems that we've talked about, the composites or the disadvantage of it, but when we give a problem, we have to give a solution with it. This is the most important point. When we give a problem, we have to give a solution. What is the solution of all these problems we said, which is caused by one problem, which is the shrinkage? All these problem outcomes come from one cause. It's shrinkage. So the only or the modern way to overcome this problem is layering technique, not putting the composite in one as a whole piece. No, we do a layering technique, and it's important to not each layer we do to not exceed 2 millimeters, because 2 millimeters is it's enough for the light source to penetrate the composite as its whole thickness and ensure the complete composite polymerization. Now we come to the another important matter. It's matrix selection. And composite restoration is different than other restorations. We have many other restorations. We have amalgam, the old body who served us for many years. That is different from composite. We cannot use the old-fashioned matrices. We used to use it in amalgam and use it in the composite restoration. This is the picture which show us the problem we face if you use conventional Toffelmeier or an Ivory 11 or Scorpion or any circumferential matrices. The first problem is this pinpoint contact. This is not contact. Contact should be area, not point. Okay, the second one is the black triangle. This will lead secondary caries, exposure of the black triangle, the fracture of the this piece, because it's the surface thickness is too small or too thin. The force of the occlusion will fracture it. So we use the perfect solution, which is sectional matrices, will give the perfect contour for the tooth as it should be, the emergence profile, the contour of the tooth as itself. It will give us the nice and problemless result. Keep in mind, don't use old-fashioned classical matrices in modern composite restoration. Plus, in my experience, all of you faced it. Use Tofel-Meyer, matrix. You will have a huge problem. Beside all these I mentioned, you will have a problem of contact. You will never have a contact. You will have a space, whatever you do. Okay, whatever you do, you will have a space. Okay, this is the problem because these matrices are squeezing matrices. You are squeezing the band toward the tooth, not adapting it. Composite restoration, it's not amalgam, it's not condensable material, it's adaptable material. So you should place your matrix to adapt or kneel beside the other tooth without harming it, so we have the nice result. I hope the point is clear. So in every case we do, we should consider this kind of matrixing or closing the class 2. No space, smooth finish line, and also a complete closure over the tooth, so we can do our restoration nicely and easily and smoothly. That is the most important point in this situation. Sorry, I have an issue with the pointer. I don't know what's wrong. So I'm going to give you a video or show you a video about a class 2. Many of us do a class 2 without considering the small details. Composite restoration is all about small details. When we neglect these, you will have definitely failure. Like in this case, just let me show what's happening here. So I thought I done a smooth finish line or gingival seat or whatever you call it, but these unsupported, like pinpoints areas, you see here? You see here? Oh, sorry. Okay, you see here? These are chipping of the enamel pieces from the tooth. That is a guaranteed failure of your restoration, because you are going to attach your composite of unfixed part of the tooth, so it will pull with the polymerization shrinkage, and will definitely leave a space or unattached area. So this is completely failure. So be careful, don't leave sharp unsupported enamel. Do smooth finish line with your class 2s. This will guarantee you a successful restoration for your patient. Another tip, every single unit we use, most of us in the Middle East, we use these Chinese or Korean chairs, which is not so accurate in acting, especially the triple cylinder. When we push it, it pushes, see, it push what? Water with it. So just push it on your gloves and be sure it's not blowing water anymore. There is another problem. There is some sort of oil. It's blowing some oil with it because of the oil system of the dental chairs. This also will affect your cavity. Your restoration. So be sure it's dry and just blowing air, not anything else. I hope this point is useful for you. Now, I'm going to blow my cavity freely without any problem. Now, before I skip to how to apply my, I'm speaking now just theoretically. I'm stepping up with you with each step further, like a ladder to reach the perfect restoration. Now, one of the, or the first important restorative success factor, what is it? It is bonding or adhesive. This is the most important point in our restoration. Now, joint, it's any bonding with the composite, with the tooth structure. It is a joint. Any joint depends on some factors. These factors are adherent, adhesive, environment, and time. Time will judge everything. Okay, adherent is the surface we are applying our bonding system on it. Adhesive is this bonding itself, and the environment, oral cavity, our habits, our oral cavity environment, and time will judge it all. Enamel dentine prepared with rotary instruments, it will leave what? Debris. These debris will close the surface of the tooth structure, especially in dentine, to close the dentinal tubules, because the dentine is composed of dentinal tubules. These dentinal tubules will be closed. This layer is called smear layer. We know all that. We do what in adhesive? They add solvent in it, so it's penetrate this area and remove it, this smear layer. Okay, as you see, here, these are the the dentinal tube is closed and this is opened. This is a cross section of the dentinal tubule, how it's closed. This is called smear plug. This is smear layer, and this is dentinal tubule. Now, the most important thing to remember about dentinal tubule, it's not isolated tubes. Okay, dentinal tubules, if we go further in microscopic science in dentin, it's not isolated tubes. It's like some mesh of tubes, because in the below area or underneath area, it will meet each other with subsided tunnels or tubes. Okay, so these are very important for our composite restoration and bonding system. We need to penetrate the bonding system as deep as we can, so we can stronger bonding for the restoration. Okay, this is the dentinal tubule as we see it, and this is another section. Now, dentinal tubules is composed of what? Of collagen fibers. Okay, and some crystallopatite in between it. It's much lower than the enamel. Okay. So, as said, I told you, we need to penetrate our bonding system as deep as we can, and the secondary dentinal tubules should be involved in this penetration. Okay, because if it's just like this, only like this, it's look like a wedge. I can easily pull it out from my restoration. If I have this situation, like it's spreaded like a root of a tree, I will difficultly will dislodge this bonding from its place. Even with the shrinkage force of the composite, will not be able to pull this bonding with it. Now, this is important to remember. And this area called, when we apply bond and it's penetrate the tooth structure, it's called what? Hybrid zone or hybrid layer. This is the important area between bonding and our tooth structure. This because it penetrates the collagen fiber, dentin, dentinal tubule, and secondary dentinal tubules. This area called is hybrid layer. Now, in the neurosciences, a little bit conflicting about it. Some says the thickness of hybrid layer is important. Some says no, it's not important because the surface area is important. How mounted the hybrid layer is, it's not important. The thickness is not important. This is not our job. We have to follow the orders we have. Thick or thin, we apply just the obvious science, the clear science. We can get a nice result. Now let's go to the adhesive itself, the bonding itself. Many bonding compositions is the first step. Sorry. Etching, primer, adhesive, and initiator and activators and fillers, other ingredients. These are the main component of any bonding. Now, bonding should have a conditions to have a successful bonding. It should have a clean substrate, okay, area, so it can penetrate everything. We are talking about not just smear layer, no, the filth in the environment we live after we prepare our tooth. It should adapt all the surface of the tooth. It should be well cured. Many dentists, remember this, it's very important. Many dentists pay attention to the composite light curing enough time and neglect the light curing of the bonding enough time. This will create a problem. You might do a great job, a perfect job, layering, curing, anatomy, but you forgot the most important hidden point. Sorry. Most important point, which is the layer is holding your whole job. It's the bonding. You didn't cure it well. You need to cure your bonding as well as you cure your composite, so you can have a successful result. Now, there's many generations of of adhesive systems. First, second, third generation are now out of service because it has very weak bonding and it has a bad outcome on the tooth structure. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh generation is the active systems till now. Fourth generation is considered the golden standard for bonding strength. Fifth generation then came, then sixth and seventh. Now remember, fourth and fifth generation are called etch and rinse. Sorry. Sorry. Etch and rinse systems, while sixth and seventh generation called the self-etch generation. What is the difference? I will show you what is the difference. Let me show you 1 second. Okay. So, fourth and fifth generation, it doesn't have the etchant itself with it. The phosphoric acid or the acid is separated from them. So it is not included in the bottle with them. The sixth and seventh generation is the etchant is included with the bottle or the container of the bonding itself. Okay, so that's why it's called self-etching and that called total etching. Self-etching it will self-etching will not remove the whole smear layer. It will remove majority of the smear layer, but will not remove all of it. Now that's why it's been considered as a good bonding system for a long time because it lowers the sensitivity, but it's wrong. It was a wrong theory. It's not the cause of the, in contrary, it will weaken the the restorative system. While in total, just before I forget, the self-edge, it doesn't contain, especially, sorry, just give me 1 minute, okay? I don't know what happened, but I'm so tired today, so sorry.
No, it's okay. You can drink some water.
Yeah.
In Egypt, we say that somebody's speaking of you now.
I hope it's good talking, not something else.
Please, take your time. Take your time.
Yeah, just.
Dear candidates, in this meantime, I will raise the poll at the screen so you can you can fill it until Dr. Sarmad comes back.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, doctor.
Yes. Now, let's continue. Sorry. This is getting on my way. How to remove it? Is this poll is coming out? Dr. Ziad?
Yes, doctor, you can continue.
Yes, it's removed. Okay. Okay. Now, phosphoric acid in total H is separate, but in selective H, no, it's with the bottle. So we're gonna make a comparison between two of them. Okay. Advantages and disadvantages of every one of them. The self-etch and etch andrins. The self-etch, it's easy, simple, reduced post-operative sensitivity. The etch andrins, it's high bond strength to enamel. But the disadvantage of self-etch is lower bond strength and technique sensitive. It include many steps for our restorations. Okay. So, sorry, before we skip that, I'm sorry, just give me another second. I'm so sorry, I don't know what happened. Okay. So, self-etch is included with a etchant itself with it. The problem with it, it's weak bonding on the enamel. So how to overcome this problem? By selectively etching the enamel surface before we apply our bond system on the tooth structure, and this way we'll overcome this problem, the weak bonding on enamel. So we are creating a stronger bonding area on the enamel, so we can get a stronger bonding system on the tooth structure itself. So we overcome this problem. So selectively etching the enamel only, not dentine, enamel only, and then apply our bonding system on the enamel and the dentine, we will overcome the this problem. The etch and rinse technique is have one problem: post-operative sensitivity and many steps. Technique sensitive. It has technique sensitive. So you can ask me what I'm going to use, when I'm going to use. I have self etch and etch and rinse. My advice to you: in deep cavities, use self etch. Okay, in the normal or shallow cavities, use etch and rinse. Especially when you have enamel, use etch and rinse. Okay, that is my advice to you. I hope you get the advice. I'm well explained it. If you have any questions, I can explain it. Now, we have a new bonding system in the market now. It's called universal adhesive system. It's very flexible system. It can be used as a total and self etch, because the ingredient in the inside the adhesive system is different. You can use it etch and rinse, self etch, and selective etching. There are plenty of adhesive systems there. Which system I can use? Before I tell you that, I'm gonna tell you one thing. Before you use a selective or total etch system, I told you, see your cavity. If it is shallow or has enamel on it, especially in interior cases, use total etch. It's strong. If you have a deep or shallow deep cavities, use selective etching, because it will be nicer on the tooth surface. It's a big subject, need much more explanation, I know, but our time is limited. But I want to give you some clinical tips so you can use it. If you have any problem, please send me a message or ask in the boxes, or email Dr. Ziad. I will answer it gladly in much more details. That was the answer of what type of, or where I use my bonding. Now, after that, when we apply our bond, it's not a matter like I'm gonna prepare my cavity, bring my bonding and etching and apply it, and that's it. No, because our body is complicated system. It doesn't accept everything easily. We have to understand our body system. Okay. Now, then, especially dentine enamel is pure crystals. It doesn't have flexibility. That's why every time we say stay your bonding, final bonding, or on enamel, because it's fixed. It's fixed subject. It's not like dentine. Dentine has flexibility. Why it has flexibility? Because it has dentinal tubules and collagen fibers. It's movable. So when before we apply our bonding system, we can do this thing. I'm going to show you this thing before I go further in my explanation. When we apply our etching on the tooth surface, and when we wash it and air blow it, our dentine, which is etched, the collagen fibers, like a brush, it will be like this. Okay, so it allows the bonding system to penetrate it, and then dentinal tubules inside of it. Okay, that's whole area what we called it. We called it hybrid layer. Now, when we etch the tooth surface and we leave the dentine like this. When we air blow it, the collagen fiber exposed because of the itching, it will like hold each other and sleep. Like any brush, when you blow on it, it will sleep. It will close the spaces between it and close the dentinal tubule surface. So will prevent bonding from penetrating our tooth structure properly, on a correct way, on a healthy way. That is a big problem because your bonding system already failed. You are not uh, aware of it. It failed. It failed. From the first step, it failed. So we have to solve this problem. How we can solve this problem? We make something called a wet bonding technique. What is wet bonding technique? When you have to blow your cavity, when you wash your etching and etching material from the tooth, and air blow it, dry it to see if it's well etched. This caused this problem I told you about. To fix this problem, just ensure that your cavity is not so dry, and this will not happen. So how can I fix this problem? Just bring a cotton pellet or a sponge piece and little bit make it moisture and add water in it and adapt it on your cavity, and be sure your cavity is glistening or shining, not too much, not water flooding over it, no, just shining. And this way you will ensure that your collagen fibers are repositioned and take its place again. Okay, is it clear? Am I clear? That's the point. And then we apply our bonding, and this will solve all our problems. So then we proceed with our other steps. This is another picture of explaining what I said. This is too dry, this is perfect, and this is too wet. The water is flooding. There is another simpler solution for this than other than the technique I told you, the prime and bond universal. The prime and bond universal, it's a new generation of bonding, as I told you, it's universal generation. It's invented by Dentsply Sirona. It has a technology called active guard technology. What is this active guard technology? This active guard technology is when you have a too dry or too wet surface of the bonding, for the tooth structure, it will solve this problem to you. I can speak for 1 hour about this, but I have a simple video about it and will explain how this mechanism is working. Okay. You see?
Okay. Let me tell you something. Okay. I used this bonding, a universal bonding of densaply serum. Actually, I have a clinical article coming out soon. I'm working on it, comparing wet bonding technique and the active guard technology of prime and bond universal bond from densaply serum. I'm doing this test for 2 years, more than 2 years. The outcome is magnificent, excellent. I'm not telling you that because I'm speaking in behalf of densaply serum. So they know. Dr. Ziad knows. Every member of densaply serum knows. If something I don't like it, I will say it. If I like it, I will tell it instantly. I did this test for 2 years, and as I told you, there is a clinical article coming out of it. I compared between the wet bonding technique and active guard technology of the prime and bond universal. The outcome is magnificent. Like I have two in many situations. Like I have two teeth, number 6 and number 7. I apply in one of them a wet bonding technique and one of them a prime and bond universal. The result is excellent with the prime and bond without wet bonding technique. No sensitivity, no post-operative pain, no no anything disadvantages comes from dry bond, dry dentine. Now, most of us, that's the answer of what I told you. Most of the dentist says composite restoration is a bad restoration because number one problem is post-operative sensitivity. Post-operative sensitivity comes from this problem, as the video showed you, as I told you, because of the collapse of the dentinal tubules and gap formation and drying of the dentinal tubule from its fluid. It takes time to get these tubules filled with what we call dentinal fluid. This will solve this problem. You will never have a post-operative either using prime and bond universal or wet bond technique. This is a magical solution for post-operative sensitivity. I confidently say I have more than 6-7 years, not single patient of mine complained about postoperative sensitivity because I use these techniques I told you. There is another tips to tell you about avoiding this, avoiding this disadvantage, but the most important is this one. Let's get to another thing. Now, polymerization stress. We mentioned that the composite, when we apply a light on it, it shrinks. But this shrinkage or polymerization process, it doesn't happen easily. It doesn't like. Let me act the process. The polymerization happens when I'm standing like this and light exposed on me. I'm gonna extend my hand and hold the person beside me or beneath me. That's how I'm making a cross-link cross-link reaction. Polymerization. This called polymerization process, but this process doesn't happen easily. It happens in a way everybody is moving in its place, like it's shaking. That will called polymerization stress. This is called polymerization stress. Now, this shaking will result in energy. This energy have to go out. So that is the cause of polymerization stress. And this is one of the main causes of what we call, as I told you, cusp fracture, because this energy moves to the tooth structure, it doesn't find any way out, and this energy will cause the particles or the pieces of tooth structure moves, plus the pulling of the bonding and the composites will cause the cusp fracture. That's why we recommend on layering technique. The polymerization stress increases in a situation called C factor or configuration factor. What is the configuration factor? It is simply, it is the shrinkage of the composite from numbers of surfaces. Like when we put a composite restoration in class 1 completely, it will shrink from 5 surfaces. This is called cavity configuration factor. So C factor or configuration factor, this shrinks from 5 surfaces or 4 surfaces. This will increase our problems. Now, when we do a layering technique, we will reduce this cavity configuration factor or configuration factor or C factor, because we are reducing the surfaces the composite are touching and shrinking from it. But there is something. I told you about the layering technique, but there is a problem with the layering technique in the deep cavity. How many layers I'm going to do? Okay, how many layers? 5, 6, 7. There's a problem with it. It's exhausting, it's time consuming, plus your hand is not a machine. Remember this, your hand is not a machine. You might leave a gap between layers, your adaptation, okay? You might be not so well experienced, you didn't adapt well. This might cause a problem. So what is the best solution? Simply, it's bulk fill. Bulk fill. What is bulk fill? It's it's a material of composites, has very low shrinkage and very low polymerization stress. Actually, it has a mechanism fighting polymerization stress, and we can fill it up to 4 millimeters. That's a huge thickness for us. It will solve all the cavity problems layering. So we can use bulk fill to overcome this problem. Now, honestly, SDR is one of the first and best bulk fill I ever used. It has a low shrinkage. It reduces the polymerization stress. Actually, it has shock absorbers mechanism for the polymerization stress, and plus it can be up to 4 to 4.5 millimeters fill up in one thickness, in one piece, okay, in one increment, let's say it, in one increment, okay? So what is this mechanism? There is sort of monomers in this SDR. These monomers are like a shock absorber. When these shaking process I told you, when it's come this one, it will absorb it and reduce it, and this will cause a reduction in your polymerization stress, and the problems comes as a result of it. Okay. It actually, the study shows it has the lowest shrinkage, the shrinkage amount between all the bulk fills in the market. Now, let me tell you something. In many courses of mine, I did many courses, and I even can't count, okay? Many dentists says, is it flowable composite? No, it's not flowable composite. It's bulk fill composite in a flowable status. There is bulk fill composites can be packed. It is condensed. It's not flowable. So differentiate between flowable composite, it's a different thing, and flowable bulk fill. Bulk fill has a different technology. It is not a, a flowable composite. Okay, I hope it's clear. Many dentists, many courses, many messages comes to me. Is SDR or bulk fill as a flowable? Can I use flowable? No, flowable has high shrinkage till now. Yes, they added nanotechnology on it, but it's different. Bulk fill is designed to overcome the problems comes from layering. So they invented a simpler solution, faster solution to fill the cavity and minimize the layers you are doing. That is the point of bulk fill. It's not flowable. It is SDR. Let's talk about SDR. SDR is the bulk fill in a form of flowable. Okay, in a form. It's not packable. There is bulk fills, packable bulk fill. Just differentiate between them. As I told you, it is has the lowest shrinkage rate between all the composites in the market. You see, as I told you, they're bulk fills, it's packable. The problems of these composites, it's not why I don't like them, because it's like a composite consistency. It might leave spaces, micro spaces. Now, dentistry is moving to nano, not micro. Even if you don't leave a micro space, you might leave a nano space. So flowable bulk fills is much better than packable composites. Is it done? No. There is something I like it very much in it. It's very, very helpful thing to me, especially in upper cases, like upper sixes, upper cavities. What is that? It is the self-leveling property of this material. It can self-level itself. Like you put it in this side and goes this side, and after a few seconds, it's self-level itself. And this is very helpful for you to proceed with your restoration. Now, this is a thermal picture of teeth filled with increments and bulk fills. Many increments indicates many stress areas. When we decrease in increments layers or layering technique, the stress area is decreased. While in the bulk fill, it's almost nothing. It's almost. These areas are not good. These areas are opportunity or probability of fracture. That is the bad point of these red areas. Before I talk about composite, bulk fill can be filled up to 4.5 millimeters. Can I put it in the class 2 proximal surface? Yes, you can. It can handle outer surface environment, oral cavity environment, but leave 1.5 or 2 millimeters in the occlusal surface just to make your final increments so you can give your tooth final shape. Why? Because it can't handle the wearing stress or occlusal stress. This is the only thing it can wear. And actually, you don't need it in the outer surface because your cavity will be ugly when it has just flat surface. Okay, you have to do your anatomy correctly. Make always your composite as a ball. Okay, always put your composite when you pull your increments. Make it a ball because it's easy to handle, easy to adapt on the cavity surface, and easy to layer it toward the tooth surface. Another good thing about the SDR, the new SDR, which is called SDR Plus, has shade on it. It actually can replace the whole dentine area, even if you have discoloration, and I will show you cases. In discoloration, the bottom of your cavity, it will cover it because it has shades now. a universal A1, A2, A3 as a shade. That's very useful. Very useful. It will cover all your bad appearances in your cavity, especially in the discolored area. Let me show you this video, okay? It's about the self-leveling effect I told you. Okay, it's not theory, it is applicable science. Just watch it. A few seconds video, not so long video. You see? You will see how it's self-leveling. Focus here. Focus here. The bulging is disappearing. This bulging here is disappearing. It's going straight, which means it is self-leveling from this to this. It's very important to you as a practitioner. Now, this is another video. No need to elongate our lecture. It's talking about the active guard technology I told you about. This is case done by me. You see how the SGR is perfectly adapted with the outer surface of the tooth and perfectly bonded or interfered or cross-linked with the outer surface of composite. Now, as I told you, we can fill it the whole cavity except the final layer. We use our incremental technique or layering technique. Now let's come to composite. Composite has what in it? In modern composite has fillers. These fillers' job is to reduce the amount of shrinkage in composites. It has a huge role in decreasing the what we call polymerization shrinkage, because it will be like an obstacle between the cross-linking reactions, so it will decrease the polymerization shrinkage. The studies show till now spherical shape. There is many shapes of fillers. These are fillers like many shapes, like rods, like spindles, like stone-shaped, I don't know, irregular shape. The studies showed spherical shape is the best shape for a filler in a composite. Why? I'm going to tell you a little bit later. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Now, the extra thing about density Sirona composites, the new Spectra, and before it, Serum X1 Universal, and also Serum X Dew, it's not only the filler itself is spherical. No, it's composed of small fillers combined in special machines, which form almost a perfect sphere shape. What is the benefit of this? It doesn't have a smooth surface. It has irregular surface. So it will not, it will easily engage with the rest of the composite restoration. Okay? And also has another benefit. I'm going to tell you that a little bit later. Or let me tell you it now. This will when we polish, when we finish our cavity, in the polish process, the outer particles of the fillers or composites fillers, it will dislodge. It will disappear because of the polishing process will dislodge these particles from itself. Especially in the shape, help dislodging from itself. But in spherical, you have to reach in this area. I don't know if you are seeing my pointer or not. You have to reach this area until the filler will dislodge from its place. Plus the rough surface, which is composed of nano small particles combined with each other to prevent it will form an extra obstacle in the way of dislodging of the filler. Okay, that is another picture of it. I summarize all these slides in my small talking here. Let's watch this video, how these fillers are formed. You see? Okay, it's clear what I told you about. Now let's come what I theoretically told you about when we polish our composites. Sorry, just I need to stop sharing for a second because it need to be full screen so I can share you the video. Okay. Okay. You see, when we polish, these fillers are exposed to dislodge from its place. That is the main problem. Remember this, and this is another tip. That is the main problem of discoloration of the composites. So many dentists don't know why this composite discolor, change its color, or it's begin to be a bad color because of this. Because when these particles dislodge from its matrix, what is going to happen? Environmental debris will fill in these areas. Okay. Another slide. In sphere tech, when you polish, there is no dislodgement because the trunk of the sphere itself is larger than its top, so it can be dislodged. You have to reach two-thirds of your filler, and then it can be dislodged. Even in this situation, it has extra forces, the rough surface, because of the combining of small fillers, particles, to form this perfectly spherical shaped filler. Now, there is another important or very useful or very helpful thing about the new spectra, even the Serum X1, which I'm using for years. The chameleon effect. What is chameleon effect or cloud system effect, system shading? When you use A1 from new spectra, it covers 3 colors, A1, B1, C1. Simplified your job. A2 also 3, A3 covers 4 shades. This is called cloud system. Now I fully studied this property. How is this happening? Even the company doesn't know about this, how deeply I've gone with it. I just gonna give you a small, simple information how camouflage are happening, or chameleon effect or cloud system happening. Many companies started now doing this technology and claiming, yeah, we are doing that, but it exists so many years in composite Serum X1 and now the new spectrum. The scientists arranged the particles in a way when they polymerize, they will arrange in a way that refract and reflect light, which will mimic the reflection and refraction of light of the natural tooth. So it stands like somehow and reflect or refract the light in a way, goes to the tooth structure, so it will appear like it is one piece of the tooth, or it's not a restoration at all, or it's over, so it's covering so many shades of the tooth. I hope it's clear. That is a simple explanation of this technology. Okay, it's great technology. I loved it. I'm sorry. Now, let's start again. Now, this case represents the perfect the perfect situation from endo to resto. Okay, this I turned class 2 to class 1, and then bulk fill, and then my end of restoration incremental layer or composite layering technique. And this is another example of perfect engagement between bulk fill and final layer of my composite. And this is the engagement of or attachment between tooth structure and the bone, the composite restoration. Here, even the endo treatment itself, I used here, as I remember, Wave 1 Gold, and then SDR, and then Sphere Tech. This case is old case. I didn't use the new Spectra. I used Serum X1, which was excellent also. After 4 years, what can I say? It's perfect. I'm not complimenting myself, but it's perfect. No need to do anything. Go. I told the patient, go. It's perfect. Okay. Now, another sculpture of another slide about sculpturing posterior composites. It's important to remember these points. Morphology need aesthetic, function, and health. I'm not going to count only on aesthetic. I'm not going to count to make a good composite anatomy without function and health. The health we talked about, okay? What is the health? Now the art part comes. Oh, when we do our, what I'm saying, the layering technique, there is a technique called a pizza technique. What is pizza technique? We all eat pizzas, okay? And we notice how the slices come to each other and meet each other. That's how we form our composite restoration. That's how we form our cusps. This is easy. Remember, it's like a pizza. This is step number 1. Okay, step number 2, this is a drawing by me. Okay, just divide like lower sixes, okay, molars, divide it in like this situation. The 5 cusps form at each other, and then you will have a nice a natural tooth structure. Now I can teach you how to make it perfectly natural with the extra anatomy, but it's not our subject today, because this is the time for such a subject need a full hands-on course, not webinars. Okay. Many of us, when we do a composite restoration and do a perfect or satisfying anatomy, end up like this, like the new Tesla truck. Everyone expected to be like this, and came out like this, flat. And this beautiful sculpture here, when he end, I don't know what happened, but it's completely erased all the details about this sculpture. That's what happens when we are doing our restoration. Okay, when we not consider the important points to avoid high spots or high contact area. There is many ways to overcome this problem. One of them, memorize the anatomy of the tooth. Before you start, observe your the quadrant you are working. Okay, see the highest scalp. I always work like this. I come this way and this way. I memorize the area. How is it formed? What is the type of the cusps? There's many types of the cusps. And there is a good way when we bring a carbon paper, or what we call it, articulated paper, and we tell the patient just before we start and bite on it, and then we memorize the areas the paper left, or we can take a photo by a mobile or a camera on it and see the highest point, the contact, and try to not exceed it. That is one of the points for success of our restoration. Plus the occlusion, it's big subject, very big stuff. You have to be a good occlusal you have to have a good occlusal information to avoid this problem. These are a quick, simple, useful tips I give you about avoiding high spot. Some rules I have in my daily practice I want to share with you about composite. Composite should have a good manipulation. What does good manipulation mean? It doesn't slump. Like when you put it to form a what we call a cusp, it doesn't melt like this. It doesn't keep itself like a cusp until I cure it. It's not so oily. Some composites are excreting oils and destroy all the environment you are working. This is another important. Keep its shapes, like when you form it in a way to make a beautiful cusp or beautiful anatomy. It doesn't comes from here and from here like it's flattening itself. Just keep itself until you cure it, as I mentioned in the first point. Camouflage is very important. I'm not dealing with anterior. I have to specific in color. Inshallah, we will talk about it next week. How to make a good matching composite with the rest of the teeth tooth structure or the rest of the adjacent teeth. Here we are dealing with posterior. I don't have the time to focus 100% with the color. I need something does the job behalf of me. So camouflage is very important. Composite container itself. Many composite containers has a bad material. When you take from it, the plastic, the piece of plastic comes with it. That's not good. I don't like it. Plus the cap itself. Okay, it has a flippable or a flat surface, so I can easily close it. Don't leave your tube open. It will cure with the room light. Manual training is your key success. Now, this is a case I want to show you about sorry, what how to do a class 2. It's not sharing. I don't know why. Can you see it? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing and reshare again. Now it's perfect. See? Now this is a simple class 2 of upper 4. I'm going to show you too many tips here. As I mentioned before, the cleaning of the substrate, the cleaning of the cavity is very important. Don't leave any debris, any TF, any foreign materials. Clean your surface so you can fully provide an environment for your bonding and composite to completely bond to your tooth surface. Okay, now you see the sharp areas of the enamel. I have to remove all these. This will get in the way of my matrix, my composite, and will also it will break down when I apply my light cure on the composite during curation. That's it, removed, smoothened. See, there is a small debris here I have to remove before I apply my etching. I'm going to remove. I'll just forward the video a little bit. Selective etching, as I told you, we can use selective etching. And then here I did a total etch. If you want to do a total etch, first of all, do as a selective etching. Wait for 5 seconds for the enamel to be etched, and then apply your etch on dentin, because dentin should have much lower time in etching. It will not hold for a long time etching. Be aware of that. Now I'm drying. I'm going to forward this. Okay. Now applying my matrix, sectional matrix. Here I use Paladin V3. It's excellent matrix. It has thin surface, and with the bulging, it's exactly like the natural tooth. Or contact area will be perfect, and the holding of the tooth will be perfect, as you're gonna see now. See, and it's simple to be applied. And use also the ring of it. It is a very nice ring to hold the matrix. See, I don't have any space or any excess possibility area. Now I'm gonna put my bonding, right? No, no. I'm gonna use the wet bonding technique I showed you. Okay. I bring a sponge, small piece of sponge. I hope the music is not so annoying to you, but I love this song. It's very special to me. It's very mind relaxing. It's very beautifully calming music. I even, when I work in the clinic, I play this music most of the time. So did you see the sponge I put? Just make it moist, not too so watery. Okay, apply it on all the surface. 5-10 seconds. Put it 5-10 seconds. Remove it, and you will see the. Oh, sorry, what happened? No, just. Oh, what happened? Okay. Okay, now I removed it. Or I'm just applying it. I don't remember. See, cotton pellet. Sorry, sponge. You can use cotton pellet, but I mostly hate cotton. But sometimes I use it, but mostly I hate it because it leaves filament in the cavity. I use microscope. In microscope, it's a whole different world. By the way, I never work with a naked eye. You are not seeing anything. You are missing a lot of things. At least use loops, available loops in the market. Okay, magnification is important nowadays. Plus, a microscope, it's a whole other world. It's show you everything. Now, a few seconds, I'm gonna remove it. You see, my dentin is glistening. تلمع بالعربي تلمع فقط تلمع, not more. Okay, so I can get you the information exactly. Now I'm gonna apply my bonding. Okay, my bonding is vigorously and nicely adapted all over the surface of my tooth structure, and then cure it, and it's ready to accept my bulk fill. Now I'm gonna fill it with bulk fill. Okay. I fill it. You're gonna notice here the self-leveling effect. You see, the excess eye, when I removed it, it came back its position. Now I fill the bulk fill and then close the composite. Sorry, I applied composite and closed class 2 to class 1. Okay. Use brush. Okay, composite brush. It's very useful. It's very handy. It's my second hand in my clinic because it's make my job much easier. You see, my cavity is closed perfectly, no excess, tooth shaped, emergence profile is very good, everything is nice. Now I will continue with my bulk fill a little bit to minimize my depth to 2 millimeters so I can manage with my incrementation procedure. Just forward it. Now this is my first increment. Okay, remove the excess, use the brush. I don't want to waste so much time. Okay, finished with the first increment, and then we put the second increment, adapt it well, use brush ensure well adaptation of the composite to the tooth surface and avoid all the problems we talked about or I mentioned. I'm recontouring my shape of the cusp so I can get natural results. Brush again. And this is the final result. You see? How nice is it? Okay. It's finished. Now I'm going to show you another short video, very short video. I know I am taking too much time, but this is what I talked about, the sharp edge. It will get, not only will give you the problems I told you about, but it will get in the way of the matrix and leave a gap and causing a overhang and soft tissue problems. Okay, I need for this video a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to give you a few cases I made so I can give you tips with it. Most of us faces with the face-off or two-face class 2s, how to deal with it, how to make a perfect contact, not letting one tooth taking the space of the other tooth. There is many solutions. One of them is putting two sectional matrices together. Finish one wall, remove one of the sectional matrices, and continue with the other wall. In this way, you will ensure your cavity is not overcoming one of each other. No, everyone has his own space, or it's right. And then remove it and continue with your cavity. You can see how nice is it. Everyone took his size. Another solution for two cavity facing each other is put one sectional matrix and fill with the other cavity with the Teflon. It will help you to see how much space you want for the other tooth to not to exceed the amount of composite we are doing in the other tooth, and thus you will have a nice composite and nice. Even this tooth is rotated, but I managed to have a nice contact point. MODs is another problem facing our clinics. After cavity preparation, I use two sectional matrices with two rings. The beautiful things about these rings of a valid Paladin V3, it can be over putted on each other and cover MOD cavities perfectly and nicely and finish your job easily. Okay, this is another view, and this is another view. Thank God today the internet helped me. It didn't like cut out like the last time. I chose a place. No, the internet is good in it and will not embarrass me like every time. We have a huge internet and electricity problem in Iraq, so it's not my fault. This is the case I showed you before, and this is the X-ray of it. I did the other tooth with it. This is the inside. I showed you outside. This is the inside. Inside should be healthy as well as the outside. Okay. Another case, isolation of class 2. Isolated class 2. Isolated class 2 is a big problem because sectional matrices will not fit there, what matter what you do. There is simple solutions I do. You can, we all have these cheap, what they say, what is nice, saddle saddle matrices with its tweezer, put your sectional matrices, hold it, and enclose the saddle matrix. It will beautifully enclose your cavity, and you can do your job perfectly and as easy as it gets. Okay, thank you so much. That's it for today. I hope I covered all the subjects come out with your mind in a minimum time. I try to collect many information as possible. Sorry for the cough thing in the middle of the lecture. I don't know what happened, but I was so tired this few days. I'm so sorry about it. I hope the lecture was useful. I'm ready to answer any question.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sarma. That was very nice lecture. And we have
Thank
some
you, Doctor.
questions, yes. So the first question is, how can we control gingival bleeding in class 2?
Yes, very nice question, and actually, the answer of it, just simply use rubber dam. The dentist who uses doing a composite restoration without rubber dam, he is not doing restoration. Please, whenever you are doing composite restoration, use sorry. Use rubber dam. Okay, rubber dam is very important.
Thank you, doctor. So when and where to use flowable composite in the posterior area?
Sorry?
When and where to use the flowable composite in the posterior area?
Flowable. Good question too. I use flowable composites sometimes as what I call it surface leveling material. As I told you before, your hand is not a machine. You will have irregularities in your cavity. These irregularities are opportunities to making gaps, okay, like this, okay, like this. So I put a thin layer of flowable composite to cover this irregular areas and make your space smooth as possible, and then apply your another increments of composite. I hope I was clear.
Yes, thank you, doctor. So another question, doctor, is frequently adding an universal self-adhesive above the composite in order to make it a little bit easily manipulated. Is this harmful?
No, never use that. No, never use bonding between layers of composites, and never use it as a modeling. Modeling is a primer. It's a different material. It will ruin your job, okay? Because for many reasons, for many reasons. One of them is the solvent exists in the bonding system. It will ruin your job. Never use bonding as modeling your composite. Use primer. It's cheap. It's available in the market. Use that.
Okay. Doctor, what is the perfect timing for curing? Is it 20 seconds or 30 seconds? And it depends on what?
Yes, it depends. It depends on the brochure. We all throw it away when we open a new product, as I used to do. Read your brochure as the company says. Do that. And there is some tricks about light curing. Light curing, you can use what I say pulsating. If you don't have pulsating in your composite restoration, I use a technique. When I apply an increment, I apply 5 seconds of curing, light curing time, 5 seconds, and then do the another increment, another 5, another 5. Like when with each increment, I use 5, 5, 5, 5. So when I finish my 4 cusps or 5 cusps or whatever, I finished my 20 seconds. Let's say the company says average 20 seconds. Some companies above or below. Depends on the brochure, I said, as I told you. So the composite will be cure 20 seconds, but I gave the monomers and the polymers a rest time, so I reduce the polymerization stress. This is very useful. 5 seconds, cure, another 5 seconds. And when I finally finish, I cure for 20 seconds. This is very helpful. Try it and you will not regret it.
Yes, doctor. So why to not use bulk fill flowable in the whole cavity?
Yes, as I told you, in SDR, you cannot use it as a final layer. It is excellent material. It holds the environment. It can hold the environment, but it cannot hold the occlusal force. It cannot hold wearing effect because it's flowable. Okay, that's why. There's companies using packable composites, full increment, that can tolerate it, but actually using full increment with the with a bulk fill, it's not useful. You cannot make your beautiful cusps in the final result. That's why the SDR cannot be used as a final layer. It's hold everything, but the occlusal force.
Yes, thank you, doctor. So there are some high power light curing devices which are being marketed to cure composite in 1 and 3 seconds. What do you think about that?
No, never use it. Please stop using it. It's very bad. That light curing units are initially and scientifically manufactured for different purposes. Don't use it here because when you apply, what is the idea of 1 or 2 or 3 seconds? It's of applying high beam of light cure on the composites with with a lot of intensity, and it will increase your rapidness of shrinkage. That will make you a big problem. Okay, don't use it. It has, plus it's damaging the tooth. Maybe it causes damaging for tooth tissue because the heat it's generating. Don't use it. Use the way I told you, even either the blinking or the way I told you, 5 seconds for each cusp. It is excellent.
Okay, perfect. So how can I fix a class 2 restoration if I ended up with an open contact after it was done?
Okay, yes. In the same session, if you are in the same session, and I face it, let's be honest, the dentist who doesn't have mistakes or failure, he's not performing dentistry. I face it. Sometimes I put everything perfectly, but when I finish, oh my God, there is a space, or the contact point is not as I wanted. Now, rule number 1, as I told you, rubber dam isolation. This is done deal. Okay, no need to talk about. You are dealing in the rubber dam isolation area. When you have this problem, prepare your cavity again, like 2 millimeters, and make a cavity again opened. Remove your composite from the contact point and make enough space for your new layer. Just put highly concentrated ethylene in it, like 95, 98, the higher the better. Just put it for half a minute or a minute, make it clear. If you use a saline, it's better. And then don't use bonding. Don't put bonding between them. It will hold each other again, because ethylene will help to regain the what we call crosslink reaction. Okay, so if you have it in the same session, do it. But in the other session, if you are trying it in other session, like 1 week later, no. Remove all your composite. This is my recommendation for you. Remove all your composite restoration and redo your restoration.
Okay, thank you, doctor. So another question: if we remove the smear plug and layer, This may cause post-operative sensitivity or not, and if we do, how can we deal with this?
Yes, as I told you, yes, the goal is to remove all the smear layer and then use wet bonding technique, the pelt, the cotton, the wet bonding technique, the wet sponge or cotton. It will re-erect the collagen fibers and refill the dentinal tubules with fluid. This will prevent your post-operative sensitivity. Post-operative sensitivity it's not caused because of you removed the what we call smear layer. It's caused for the collapsed collagen fiber, the dentinal tubules, as we mentioned. Okay, use that, and you will. I will guarantee to you will not never have a post-operative sensitivity.
So, regarding of air drying after bonding,
Yes.
we don't air dry after both regular and wet technique, or in only wet technique?
We don't dry after wet technique.
He is asking, do we do it in both wet and regular technique or not?
What does he mean by regular technique?
Okay, please, doctor, can you rephrase your question? We'll answer it. Okay.
If he's meaning that he's after we apply our wet sponge or wet cotton technique and then we apply bonding, no, you cannot air blow after that because you skip to first place. You are collapsed your collagen fiber. Okay, so put your cotton and don't air blow before that, so you can ensure that the etching of the enamel is good and your cavity is clean. After that, apply your wet bond technique and then don't blow. No, directly apply your bond. Don't blow because you will go to the first place we started, collapsed collagen fibers. If he does mean that by regular.
Yes, I guess so, because we had some questions in the same topic, which is the wet bonding. So the last question regarding this part is, what if the enamel gets wet when applying the wet bonding technique?
What if
the enamel gets wet after applying the wet bonding technique?
No, try to not touch the enamel, okay? When you put the, because the chalky appearance of the enamel is important. Try to use a small piece of cotton or sponge and don't touch the enamel, okay? Because you might have a barrier between your enamel and bonding. Try to not touch your enamel surface. Make it dry.
Okay, perfect. So another question is about the tips and tricks in application of sectional matrix on a last posterior tooth on which the clamp of the rubber dam is applied.
Yeah. It's a very good question, and I have many cases of the last tooth and the clamp applied on it. There is many ways. I have videos on it. I have pictures on it. But if I put it here in the webinar, we might take more than 4 hours to finish our webinar. So I'm going to give you some tips about it. One of the way, as I told you, the sectional, the saddle matrices, you can put it and then just loosen your clamp and make the matrix go beneath it and reclose it. This is one of the way we can do it. Okay, so in distal cavities or the clamp on it. Plus, you can use, there is a special clamps when the prong is like this. It's inside. It will retract everything and will give you space to put matrices, even the sectional matrix or circumferential, whatever you use for the distal side. It will give you the space. It's like this. The prong is toward it below. It will retract everything. Don't use the straight one. Okay, use the pointed inside. It will retract it.
Okay, perfect. So we are reaching to the end now. So I didn't understand the point of the collagen fiber. Do you mean that after etching, we should wash it by wet cotton instead of air to keep the collagen fibers stand?
Sorry, you mean by collagen fiber that so sorry, I didn't get the question properly. So he means that like after my etching process.
Yes, I didn't understand the concept of the wet. And why did we apply wet brush or wet collagen? Sorry, wet sponge after the bonding? Did we do it for the sake of the collagen fibers or not?
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
it was
Yes,
not a
exactly.
question. I guess it was like a reassuring of an info or something, not a question. So, okay, thank you, doctor. So, if the spherical particles have a rough surface, doesn't that increase the risk of the recurrent caries?
No, it's not related. The filler is embedded in the matrix. Okay, the tooth surface is not related to it because the matrix, which is embedded in it, the filler embedded in it, it's filled with the matrix of the composite. No, absolutely no. It's not related even. It's not related to the tooth structure. It's related to the composite itself.
Yes, this is true. And actually, if I may, can you allow me, Dr. Sarma, to add
Sure.
point? Yes. In the spherical part of or in the process of the manufacturing of the sphere tech, there is a vacuum pumping in the process, which ensures that the spherical particle is properly compressed and it's homogeneous from the outside, rather than the nanoclustering. The nanoclustering makes it a little bit more irregular. We don't do it in the form of a nanoclustering. We compact it, so you have a smooth, or we can say like the minimal irregularity.
That's yes, that's exactly. It's irregular, but not in the bad way.
Yes, this is true. It's like a patency or a patent to then supply Sirona, this technology. So the last two questions, Dr. Sarmad, I know that we took a lot, but I enjoyed a lot today's webinar, frankly speaking. I was a little bit worried on yourself, but I
No,
enjoyed
it's
it.
okay, it's okay,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yes.
In contrary, I love the question. The question means people are interacting and they got used from the webinar.
Yes, this is true. So the last two questions are mainly regarding the tip that you made, which is the end file number you used to make the grooves in the composite.
Yes. Yeah,
what file size? Yeah, what file size did you use, or did you use a spreader? I guess one of your cases you used a spreader or an endo manual file to draw the grooves in the surface of the composite.
Yeah, that's a tip I can give you when you're doing giving attention to your cusp formation and you want to make it exactly like a natural tooth. I use sometimes a file and K file number 6 or 8 to make these extra fine details. It's very helpful. I bend it. I usually use the throwed one, like the defloated ones. Okay, we throw it. I don't throw it. I keep it aside. I use it in this situation. For K file number 6 or 8, plus sometimes I use the Element Art. The Fishura type is very thin, but the K file is much useful than.
Very nice. And finally, doctor, can you provide us like with the camera model and the lens you use in taking the dental photos?
Yeah, I use Nikon D7100, 700, and I use Tokina macro lens 100 millimeters and Sigma ring for the posterior, Sigma ring flash for the posterior. It's very useful. It's very good material. And for the anterior, I'd use Twin and Studio.
Perfect. So we reached the end of the day. So I would like to thank you again, Dr. Sarmad, for this valuable webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Ziad, for your effort and organizing this.
It's my
Thanks.
pleasure. I'm looking forward to organize something physical. We hope next year things get much better.
Yeah, surely. I hope so too.
Yes, and also I would like to thank the audience, and also for any more inquiries or even any more questions, just feel free to send it to my email, and I will gladly forward it to Dr. Sarmad, and he will definitely
I will
answer
gladly
it
answer
if you.
them.
Yes, yes, I believe. And also, I would like to announce that for next week at the same timing, we are having the anterior part of the webinar covering anterior composite restorations and anterior
Yes.
applications. We will announce the, actually, I will send you personally on the email the invitation for the next week, and then I will. If you are interested to join us, thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Salman. Thank you, the audience. Please stay safe and have a nice week. Thank you again. شكرا
Thank you. Good night for everybody.
دكتور. مع السلامة.
مع السلامة.